G'day and welcome to Breaking Even with L. Payton. My name is Patch. I'm with you on the official SuperCoach feed. And with me this week on Breaking Even, the delightful Josh Barnes from Code Sports, the Herald Sun, and the Midweek Tackle. Barnsey, thank you for joining the official SuperCoach podcast.
What an honour. What round are we up to? Round 22? It's only taken me this long to make it on the SuperCoach podcast, but what a pleasure. Great to be here. I'm feeling really good. I was feeling good until Monday afternoon when Lachie Neale went down.
Yes.
But otherwise, I was feeling good.
Yes. Well, you had every right to feel good. Do you want to tell the good people of SuperCoach why we pulled you on this week?
Yeah, this is the surprise of why I'm on this week is I had probably my only good SuperCoach week of the whole season. Reeled off a 2009-7-3 score on the weekend. What did you score, Max?
I scored 2,972.
Yeah, we can't all get good scores,
so
mate.
We can't all get
hard.
good scores.
Yeah.
They call me the expert, and honestly, I thought we'd drag a real one in this week because I've been exposed as a fraud. So, it's the barrier to entry to get on the pod this week was 2,972.
Yeah.
We set a high bar on Breaking Even.
It was a good week, especially for those of us in the know who have Jai Farrow on their team. My favourite player of all time, and he's just an absolute legend, Jai. Just pulled it off. I was feeling a bit queasy when I made that trade to bring him in this week with Brodie Grundy, and both of them went all right.
They went very all right. 320
Brodie
points.
went very all right, yeah.
320 points between the two of them. You will take that every day of the week. Anyway, we'll get cracking into the show. Just a reminder, SuperCoach EPL is here. Jump in, make your team, have a bit of fun with that. SuperCoach finals are coming as well. Keep your eyes peeled for some details on how that'll be working. And we've got another exciting SuperCoach announcement coming on Thursday. So keep your eyes on social feeds there. But we will jump into the HBF Injury Report. Every SuperCoach knows that managing injuries is the key to success. This is the Injury Report, proudly brought to you by HBF, your health dream team. Lachie Neale, as you mentioned off the top bar.
Don't tell me. I don't want to hear about it anymore.
Is going to miss the rest of the home and away season with a quad injury in a cruel blow to anyone who has him on their side, even crueler to anyone who doesn't have trades left. I'd
hate to be in that position.
Yeah, that would sure suck, hey. Connor Rozee had the sniffles on the weekend, as well as a broken hand. Should be back from both of them this weekend, according to Ken Hinkley. But Jace Burgoyne has a lower leg injury and could miss the rest of the season.
It's shutdown time for a lot of those players. Will Day, of course, he's in shutdown mode, not because of Hawthorn not playing finals. He's gone the rest of the year with that navicular injury, foot trouble, and going to be a lot of trouble going forward for him. Haydn Young again is injured. He's out with an adductor. We're not really sure how long he'll be out for. Justin Longmuir said they'll work that out as they go, but definitely not playing this week. I don't think the week after. So if you need him in your team, it's probably time to shift him out if you can. And Harry O'Farrell from Carlton, he's out with an ACL, so we won't see him until probably midway through next year either.
Yep, not ideal for the young man. That is a wrap on this week's injury report. Thanks to HBF. Make the smart move. Join HBF, your health dream team. Lachie Neale is not a great situation for anyone to be in.
How did you feel when that sort of started leaking out? It was about 4 o'clock, I think, on Monday.
Yeah.
You looked at your trades and saw there was a big fat zero there.
I saw a big fat zero. I used my last trade on the weekend. I thought I was very smart, very smug at being able to trade Connor Rozee to Max Holmes after the news of that late out surfaced, and I was feeling even more smug when he dropped 154.
Yeah.
And then them's the breaks. That's just how it rolls. I knew that it'd probably be a 1 weeker and that I was taking a risk, and I'm like, whoever's missing, like Max Holmes is going to outscore them on the run home. I've got Shea Bolton on the bench. It'll be fine. And now looking at Lachie Neale on my bench, I'm like, maybe it wasn't fine.
Yeah, it's probably not fine. Bit of a disaster.
What are you doing early doors to someone with a trade?
Yes.
This is a use your last trade situation.
This is my final trade. I'm not sure. I'm after your advice, please, Max. So you got guys like Andy Brayshaw, Tom Liberatore, who are similar price. I have 12,900 in the bank, so I can go slightly higher than his 536,400 that Neale's at right now, but I don't have a lot of room to move.
Higher, yes. I think if you've got limitless cash, for those listening or watching on the Code Sports YouTube, if you can just get up to the best player you can, is I think the best way to tackle it. If you can get Nazai Wangan-Miller with a swing, you can get Max Holmes. I think they'd be the two I'd really be targeting. If you've not got a lot of cash, makes it a bit tougher. Andy Brayshaw, I think is, he's been one of the best players.
Reliable.
Reliable, pretty good. Even, looking at his last quarter on the weekend, pumped out 50-something points. So hasn't really let you down too much. Errol Goulden at 534k could be a really fun play as well.
I'm staring at that at the moment, Errol. I've been trying to keep tabs on him since he came back from his injury. He's been quite excellent most of the week since he has returned. I'm a bit more of a novice than you, Max, in my Supercoach days. What's your theory on players playing for teams not in the finals hunt in the final 3 weeks of the year? Are you cautious about that, or you don't mind? I would assume Errol's going to play out, but
someone like Errol, who is young and fit and keen, missed a bunch of the season, I wouldn't have any fears about him missing. So I don't think don't get too worried. I get more worried about finals contenders who, very interested in what Geelong's going to do. They run the risk, I think, a bit more of putting guys on ice if it's like 3/4 time, someone's up. You're up by 10 goals.
Yep.
Maybe the Crows put Jordan Dawson out to pasture at 3/4 time.
Definitely the sub-vest with Chris Scott's going to be a big watch. In the next 3 weeks,
well, you've spent a bit of time around Geelong and know them reasonably well. What do you think will happen on the run home with the Cats? Are they going to rest Bailey Smith, Max Holmes? We've heard, obviously, Patrick Dangerfield will be missing against Essendon.
Yep.
Is Jeremy Cameron going to be put on ice at all, or is he locked into the 100 hunt? I'm quite worried about Max Holmes now that I've brought him in. I'm immediate buyer's regret.
I would be shocked if Jeremy Cameron was rested. I think they're all in on getting to 100 goals. Even Chris Scott is happy to try and get him to 100 goals. So I think it would be a massive surprise if he was rested. I don't see that happening. I think, as you said, Dangerfield is probably rested. I think Jack Martin is a player that a lot of super coaches have bought him low early. I don't think he'll be, it's definitely not full minutes. He started the sub on the weekend, came on and kicked 4 goals in 5 minutes, and that was pretty handy. I think he's one that may even be rested this week with that 5-day turnaround, or going forward. I think he'll be very carefully managed to make sure he's right by the time they get to the finals. Bailey Smith has missed a bit of footy, so you can't really rely on him playing any week, can you? This week, we've all learned that.
Keeps missing training sessions. At least, hopefully, every week you can just reply to the official Supercoach Instagram account to let us know.
Yeah, that was handy. I appreciate that,
nice.
Baz. That was good.
Thank you, but if you can do that every week, just shoot us a message.
Yeah, early in the week's better, Baz. If you're watching, but that was good.
Yeah,
Max, I'm not sure about. He is a player that traditionally hasn't been rested, but he has that sort of hamstring history that. Obviously, in 2022, and he missed the grand final with a hamstring. That's really been his only serious injury. The preliminary final one last year, that was a bit of sort of a crampy, sort of funny feeling. So he doesn't have a history of tearing it dramatically, but I'm sure the Cats will have that in the back of their mind when they line up against Richmond in the final round.
Yes.
Those sort of things.
Yeah, they could be 20 goals up at 3/4 time and can't see a lot of interchanges being done.
Tom Stewart is another one that I think a lot of coaches have brought back in the second half of the year. He's been in great form lately. His wobbly knee means he would surely get a rest, I would think, at some point.
Surely.
You would think he would be.
If it's an enforced rest for trying to, spear tackle someone through mid-air, or if it's...
He tried to get himself a rest on the weekend, didn't he?
Did.
That trip to Sydney as well, obviously there's the 5-day break this week against Essendon, and the trip to Sydney as well. I think that's one where you might see a couple of those players put on ice. And the other thing with Geelong is they have 0 players on the injury list right now. They have 2 tests and a concussion protocol with Ollie Henry, who I think is past that and through and will play in the VFL. So they've got so much room to move that it's not funny. They can bring in a Mitch Duncan without any worries, that sort of thing, and might want to get a look at a Cam Guthrie before the finals.
And the fact that they've got players that are that good sitting there as well is also slight cause for concern.
Yeah, they're in a very good position at the moment. So I think Stewart's definitely a watch.
Would you be avoiding Cats players if you're trading a Lachie Neale replacement? Bailey Smith's about the same price. Would you avoid Bailey Smith if you don't have him?
I mean, if you don't have Bailey Smith in your team, who are you?
True.
I think Max Holmes is the one, isn't he? He loves to score big against sort of bad teams. You'd pencil him in for a big score this weekend. He's not likely to be subbed mid-match, I wouldn't think, unless they're absolutely flying, given he's a younger player. I would still be backing him in. I think he's going to score huge in the final 3 rounds, but I mean, that's your appetite for risk with him getting a rest. I don't think, if I was to guess right now, I don't think he'll get a rest. I think they would prioritise older players. They have a lot of older players, but I think there is always that sort of thought in the back of your mind?
Yeah, I think so. So with Neale replacements, I think if you can get up to a Holmes, I think he's great. I do really like Errol as a buy-in option.
Yeah.
Have you got your eye on anyone else?
What do you think about Ed Richards? He's been sort of a little bit flat at times in the past month or so. Hasn't been at his absolute best. He's down to 515,000 now, so he's a good price for a lot of people out there. That's for obviously 30 or 20 grand less than Lachie Neale, so he's obviously affordable. I feel like he can score big. What's his sort of floor at the moment, do you think?
I'm not entirely sure. I haven't watched a lot of Bulldogs games, and the Bulldogs game I did watch was the Essendon one, which probably not a great indication of how they're going to be playing against most other sides. But they've got Melbourne and West Coast in the next 2 weeks as well. So for a guy with a pretty high ceiling, you'd like to think that he gets back to, that run he had in the middle of the year where he was scoring kind of 120s, 140s for fun. Had the 117 against Essendon, 100 against the Giants. I think 2 of the next 3 weeks he goes pretty big and does pretty well, especially with the Dogs just needing to win too. He's one of their best ball users, gets the ball in the hands of forwards. I think surely he can rise to the top and be a really nice little pod on the way home. I don't think he's particularly highly owned at this stage.
Yeah. The other one I'm keeping an eye on, I think is 8.5% owned is Finn Callaghan. He's 576, so a little bit more expensive.
Yeah.
But he's averaging 117 in his last 3 and 117.8 in his last 5. So that's pretty reliable. He's gunning around that. You can bank him in for 100 at the moment. He's in super form. Yeah. The Giants need to keep winning, so there's no fears about any resting or minutes restriction there. He's one that hasn't been as widely owned as some others, and I think he's pretty juicy. If you can get yourself up to 576, 600, that's definitely one I'd be looking at.
Yeah. We mentioned Haydn Young in the HBF Injury Report as well. He's someone that you probably, if you don't have Lachie Neale, you'd be looking to trade Haydn Young out as well. You just can't trust
definitely
that soft tissue injury.
Yeah, the way Justin Longmuir was speaking on AFL 360 on Fox on Monday night, he's not playing definitely this week. I don't think he's playing next week. And there's only 1 game left after that. So you're not getting much value if you have Haydn Young in your team right now, I think,
I
if you can.
very close to trading him in last week too. I really liked the look of
that. Would have made for a fun podcast.
Or I would have been throwing things across the room.
I was very, very close eye on him in draft in SuperCoach as a guy who was sitting there. Both him and Will Day have come back off long absences and both of them have gone away again. So there's been a lot of shuffling around there. Yeah,
maybe something to be said for it. Obviously, 400K for Haydn Young with that sub-affected game and then an 11 on the weekend before being subbed out. Doesn't give owners a lot of wriggle room if you do need to trade him out. But one guy, if you do have a little bit of cash sitting there, could be, I don't know where he's gone. There he is, 430K, our old friend Ryan Marriage.
Oh, really?
Scored 141 on the weekend.
I watched that game on the weekend against Melbourne and they were absolutely pants. Not enough to save Simon Goodwin, obviously, but Ryan Marrick is that sort of, him and McCarthy are clearly the go-to rebounders at West Coast at the moment. He's getting a lot of the footy. Yeah, 100 against Freo in the derby, 141 against the Demons. Got forward as well, kicked a goal or 2, I think. Maybe he's back in POG form. Yeah, I think he'd be a reasonably reliable. The ball's going to be at that end quite a bit, as we know, and as I said, him and McCarthy, they're trying to get the ball and feed those two on the way out. So definitely be one to keep an eye on. Very reminiscent of Bailey Dale's kicking style. I've noticed that low bullet style. He's one of the ones in the league who kicks it as low as possible, cuts the grass with his kicking. Yeah, true. Usually hits the target. Yeah, usually. Depends if he's made the right decision. Yeah. Which I know a lot of West Coast fans aren't a huge fan of him. But considering there aren't a lot of options at that price point, he's, I think, the best one, unless you go with like an Archie Roberts, who I've spoken about a little bit this year. Big fan, one shining light for Essendon in a pretty rubbish season. Yeah. Definitely SuperCoach value. He'd be just about the only one, wouldn't he? Yeah. Yeah, pretty much, now that all of our other ones are injured. So obviously Simon Goodwin got sacked yesterday. Troy Chaplin comes in as caretaker coach for 3 games. Do you reckon, because you were covering it a lot yesterday, you were there yesterday, did you see a glint in Christian Petrarca's eyes knowing that he's going to be playing forward or he's not going to be there next year and he doesn't, are they going to be checked out? They're going to be rested, dropped, moved around?
What's your take on how that'll impact the Supercoach players we have in our side with Chaplin coming in?
It'll be a fascinating watch with Chaplin, the way he coaches, because clearly he only gets a 3-week window, but it's an audition for him, isn't it? If he can sneak a win or do something. They've got a very tough run, Melbourne, so it's unlikely he could sneak a win, but if he can, that obviously helps his chances. And clearly Brad Green, the president, thinks this team should be winning games and playing finals. That was the message coming out of that press conference yesterday. One of the few times he sort of strayed from his lines, I think, Brad Green, when he said, we believe this list should be playing finals. So that means Troy Chaplin, I don't think he's going to be picking a bunch of kids to try and win. He's going to be trying to win games and see what he can prove of that. And they're going to be trying to win next year, so they're not going to get rid of their veterans and just play 18-year-olds. It's interesting with Petrarca. He hasn't played midfield hardly at all the last sort of couple of weeks. He's been playing forward, but still scored 117 on the weekend and is quite lively as that half-forward option. So I think I'd be pretty confident that he would still score okay. It's guys, if you've still got Clayton Oliver in your team, what's his role going to be? Are they going to check him out and say, look, we realistically don't want you on this team next year? Is it time to really push him out of the midfield, try him somewhere else and put a Harvey Langford in? That's going to be watchable.
Hand the keys to Langford and to Lindsay and those young types.
And the other one to watch, obviously, is Max Gawn, whether he plays out. That's going to be the question on a lot of coaches' lips. It would be remarkable for him to play every game this year, given his body and where Melbourne's at on the ladder. It doesn't seem to make any sense to me that you would do that, but he's not the kind of guy that puts his hands up to rest. So,
and especially not, he feels like he's carrying the club at this stage. They could have named him coach, for caretaker coach, and be like, you know what, he's doing everything else. Give him that as well. Like he's not carrying any obvious niggles, or he's not like looking like he needs a rest, though he's still like firing out. But do you think
he was probably best? He was best on ground at halftime on the weekend, definitely against the Eagles, and maybe that first half was good enough for him to remain best on ground, as I guess the game petered out to nothingness. So he's still in excellent form and still fighting for an All-Australian blazer, whether that comes into it or not. He could be. I think he's tying the record or getting close to the record for the most blazers this year if he gets it. So that's got to be part of it. If he can take down Tim English, Lloyd Meek, and Darcy Cameron in the next 3 weeks, that eliminates those guys out of All-Australian contention and puts him at the top. But it just doesn't, for the greater picture, it doesn't make sense to me that he would play all those games and just batter his body away when they're going to finish 13th.
Yeah, especially with a perfectly cromulent Tom Campbell sitting there as well. Just
the coach killer himself, as our colleague Dan Cherney tweeted out yesterday. He's seen through 6 coaches.
Yeah, 5 or 6, it's a lot. But, that's what you get when you're a journeyman that's been there for, 10 years and played 58 games.
Yeah. And also, aside from him, they've got Will Verrill on the list, who hasn't played a lot of footy. They've got Tom Fullerton from Brisbane, who's out of contract, I think, and they might want to get a look at him because he hasn't done anything as a forward.
Baffled they brought him in and then didn't play him. They're just like, we brought him in as ruck cover and forward cover, and they've got no forwards and no backup rucks, and he's just not played. He
clearly isn't a great forward. He hasn't got a kick when he's played forward. So is it time to give him one game in the ruck and see if there's something there? Maybe that's a Troy Chaplin move, but I can't imagine Troy Chaplin goes to Max Gawn and says, I'm only in charge for 3 games. You're going to go and have a rest this week.
Have a spell, son.
Yeah.
Go for a run around at Casey.
Yeah. So my gut feels he plays each of the last 3 weeks gone, but it's just been niggling at me a while that it just doesn't seem right that he would.
Yeah. I did not expect him to play every game. It's about his best return he's ever had, and props to him.
Yeah, it's been another fantastic year for him. He's going to be up against his old teammate Brody Grundy for the All-Australian slot. Maybe both of them get in.
Maybe both.
So, yeah.
Maybe. We will see. Anyway, so we'll move on. Captains for the week. Who at this stage do you have lined up as your vice captain and captain this week, Josh Barnes?
I reckon I'll be going Max Holmes as my vice on Friday night. I think that's probably a pretty safe bet. And then I just can't avoid Brody Grundy, can I, as the captain? I think that's
not in the form he's in. He's averaging 196 million over his last
It's pretty hard to put the big C on anybody else. I mean, the crazy form he's in, and he's still just churning them out. I can't see really another option for me on that one, even if Brisbane has been reasonable, in its ruck. They'll probably tag team him. Oscar McInerney, I don't think will play this week, so probably Darcy Fort and Henry Smith against Brody, but Brody's just too good for everyone right now.
Yep.
Do you have Jezza in your team? What's your thoughts on him this week?
Jeremy Cameron is the most VC-able player I think I've ever seen in Supercoach, where there's every chance Essendon play 5 guys on him. And, your Jack Martins kick 8 and, Shannon Neale gets off the chain and kicks 15 and everyone else, gets a bunch, but you get the perverse joy that Alistair Clarkson had where you deny a player 100 goals like he did with Brendan Favola in 2008.
Yeah,
Still mad
I think
about
definitely
that.
the thing with it is you don't want to be the team that gives him the 12 goals that seals the deal or puts him right on track. You can't be the team that does that. But they were handing him goals last week and he still only scored 94, I guess. So are you concerned that his possession totals are lower than probably ever before for Jezza because he's playing deeper to kick goals?
I think with Essendon it's worth taking the risk because we are, and I can't overstate this, so bad this year. We're such a terrible excuse for a football club because it's a VFL side running around. I don't think Lachie Blackiston or Jaden Laverde are limiting what he can do, and they're obviously feeding him at home. I wouldn't be captaining him because there is, as you said, that concern that he's playing a bit deeper, might not get off the chain if he's double-teamed or they don't look for him. But he also could kick 12, and if he's scoring 170, then I want to be on that chain. I think Max Holmes is the safer option in that he will score 130, could be 150, lock it in. Cameron could be 170. So I think if you've got him, you absolutely need to VC him this week. But yeah, have a fallback.
Yeah. What's your over-under with Jezza in terms of goals this week? Like if I put it at 7.5, would you take the over or the under?
I'd take the over. I'd take the over at this stage.
It would be a disappointment if he kicked 7, I think.
Yeah, look, anything under 6 and I'd want my money back. Honestly, I'll be cheering for every single Jeremy Cameron goal this weekend.
Yeah, I'll be there as a fan and I think it'll be a end-to-end kind of situation. If you can follow him from one end to the other, that's what you'd be doing, isn't it? I think that's got to be...
I think so. I thought he meant end-to-end as in the ball will be bouncing from end to end. And I'm like, absolutely not. It'll bounce to one end and back to the middle and then to the same end and it'll do that for 4 quarters.
What do you think about Nick Dacos VCing Thursday night against Hawthorn? There's obviously no Finn McGuinness around to tag him. They didn't tag him last time. He scored 116 against the Hawks. Not a huge day for him, but he was very influential early. Sam Mitchell usually at these days sort of lets them go. He's been in pretty good form, Nick. He's been sort of back towards his best.
Look, if you don't have any Geelong players, I would do it. Yes, I think he's... good for a 115 minimum, you'd hope, on Thursday night. That both clubs know how big this game is as well. Both of them need the win to get top 4 or final secured. So I think, he rises to the top, sorry. So I think he's a good shout. I'd still be going if you've got any Geelong players, Bailey Smith, Max Holmes, Jeremy Cameron, Shannon Neale, Jack Martin as the sub. I think I'd still probably go them ahead of Dacos. I've also just got a thing where I don't like vice captaining in the Thursday game.
Why is that?
I just don't like it. I've been burnt so many times. I have a theory that's not been proven at all, but like Thursday games, everyone's a little bit more tired because there's less turnaround. So the quality kind of goes down a little bit and there's less running, there's less spread. It's not true, I don't think. But
there might be something in that.
But I don't know, I'm just anti-Thursday football.
Yeah, there might be something to that. There's less disposal gathering. At the moment, Thursday games are not close, so star players sort of head to the bench probably a little bit earlier than usual. Hopefully we've got a close one this week, but we thought that probably last week with the Dogs and Giants, and that didn't work out.
No, not at all. So I think, I don't know, I'm just wary of the Thursday games, but if I was going to do one, Dacos would be up there. But Nazar Wanganeen-Miller plays Richmond
Can you believe we haven't mentioned him so far?
Maybe we didn't kick 2 goals in the last minute this week. So
yeah, a bit of a down performance. Like 36
he's got a lift, honestly. But he could well do that this weekend against Richmond. He could have 40 and kick 4 and score 100 million points. So I quite like the look of him. Noah Anderson up against the Blues as well. If you've got him or Matt Rowell, they could both be good shouts. And Tristan Sherry, if you held him, you reward him on his comeback game with the captaincy armband on Sunday against Kieran Briggs, who just gave up 202 points to Tim English.
Tim English had his way with Kieran Briggs. It's slightly a different sort of ruck style. English obviously was floating forward and taking marks, and that's where he was racking up his points. He had a lot of intercept marks and forward 50 marks. He was flying in the skies. That's not Cherry's game, obviously.
No.
Cherry and Briggs are pretty similar as those big, burly guys that get to work at ground level more than anything. But you'd think he'd come back strong, he's obviously going to be straight back into the team.
Yeah,
so
he's going to be pretty mad about missing 3 weeks.
Hopefully not that mad that he does something silly.
No, you'd hope not. That would be a cruel blow to him and to Supercoaches that held him from to be banned again. But yeah, he could be a shout. And Jordan Dawson against Adelaide, against West Coast, last game of the round.
That screams points to me.
Screams so many points, but also does it scream him being played forward in the second half?
Yeah, well, they do sort of mess around with his role a little bit. I don't know. This is just anecdotal. I feel like he rises to the occasion more than most other players. He has big moments when the games are on the line, that sort of thing. You would assume the game's not going to be on the line after the 3-minute mark on the weekend. So whether he sort of fades out and does spend a bit more time at half forward, it's a good point, but yeah, I'd be keeping a close eye on him.
Yeah, I'm worried not owning him this week because I think he could well go 140 plus again. So plenty of options. We could see another monster round. We had the biggest round of all time just come and go. We're both part of it with quite big scores.
That feels good,
well.
yeah.
Do you want to say the number again just to feel a bit better?
Oh, what was that, 2973? That was pretty good.
That's pretty good as they come. That's much better than 2972.
Caleb Sarong sort of let me down a little bit. I was hoping he would get me over the $3,000 and he just didn't get there.
Yeah.
He had a bit of a quiet game. So
yeah, that Zach Butters 44 is just, if it had just been 100, we'd have been fine. But alas, Oisin Mullen did too good of a job.
I will say, though, on a tangent about my own personal life, Oisin Mullen tagging Butters in my draft matchup. Butters was the last player to play. Only needed 50 to beat me.
Oh, no.
And Oisin Mullen just clamped him down alongside Jai Farrow, my 2 favourite players of all time now, Jai Farrow and Oisin Mullen. Just absolutely loving the Irishman. Good on him. Great job. He was really just stalking him all game. Did not leave his side.
Yeah.
And he did it for me. So I appreciate that.
For you personally, he sent you a little swish video.
You just kept waiting as the game went on for him to
do something.
Take off. And he only needed, I think, 24 in the last quarter to beat me in the draft, and he still only scored about 12. And it was just glorious.
There we go. Well,
thanks, Zach. And thanks, Oisin.
For every man's terror, there's a man's joy. So I'm glad you got some joy on the weekend. You got that. You beat me.
Feeling joy.
There's more joy hopefully to come for Supercoaches this weekend. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We will catch you all next time. Happy trading. If you've got any trades left, happy screaming into the void. If you've got Lachie Neale and you don't, we will see you next time.